to Nightmare Nation,
your favorite paranormal podcast where we talk about the scary histories and hauntings associated with famous places around the world.
And paranormal things and scary things and demons and Ouija boards.
And investigations and controversy, and mostly just talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren a lot.
Yeah.
They're involved in like half the cases we talk about.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And we go off on tangents.
And sometimes we sing.
Yep.
And we make jokes.
And we're funny.
Yep.
Practically comedians.
Basically. We should probably quit our day jobs.
Yeah, probably.
I'm Annie.
Hey, I'm Anna.
And tonight we're going to talk to you about...
the Joshua Ward House.
The Joshua Ward House in Salem. Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. I don't like that state name.
Why?
Massachusetts. There's just so many...
It's a lot of letters. It's really hard to spell correctly.
Yes.
I just usually abbreviate with MA.
That's what I did in most of my notes.
Is it MA or is that Maryland?
No, it's...
No, it's okay, it is. All right. I suddenly questioned my knowledge of United States state names.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So the Joshua Ward House is super cool. It is a historical house on Washington Street in Salem, Massachusetts. It is a 3-story federal-style brick house. So federal style is classicized... Class...
What was that word?
How do you say that word? Classicizing?
Classicizing?
Classicizing.
I don't even know what that word means.
I don't either.
I've never
so
seen
many
that before.
Weird letters.
Okay.
Classicizing architecture built in the newly founded U.S. between 1780 to 1830, which typically uses plain surfaces with, attenuated detail.
I'm not sure I know what that means either.
I don't know.
You're getting real
way too fancy
here.
Thank you, Wikipedia. Yes.
Is that like artsy, but like what in terms of smart things? It's really smartsy.
It's a very smart art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Smartsy.
Yes.
I'm gonna coin that. That's my new phrase.
Perfect. It's also isolated in panels, tablets, and friezes.
Frieze. I feel like that's a French word. Friezes.
Not freezies, guys.
No.
Not
like,
those delicious things.
God, I love those. The purple and blue ones are the best. God.
You let them melt just a little bit, and you pound it with a hammer.
Yes.
And you get it all, like, slushy.
Yeah, and you have, like, a little intermixed, like, chunks of frozen, but then it's all, like, juicy at the bottom, and I had a really fun time. I would just, like, squish it.
I wish you guys were here to see the hand action that just went down.
I guess out of context it would look kind of inappropriate. But you know, it's like satisfying to like squish it because it was all like liquidy inside the plastic. Oh my god, okay. All right.
On that tangent.
Like, as promised, we're already on a tangent. We're about 2 minutes in, so.
So it was built in 1784 and was one of the first brick houses built in Salem. So Joshua Ward, hence the name, the Joshua Ward House, he was a ship owner, merchant, and rum distiller who owned the house. So he would take in ships from the, what was it? Is it a river, I think, or something that's in front of the house? And he would take in all of the stuff that would come in.
There's a river in front of the house?
I think so. I thought I read that. Or somewhere like close by, or a lake or something.
Okay. Just transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So then I thought this was a kind of cool little tidbit. In 1789, George Washington was going through Salem, and he requested to stay in the home while he was visiting.
Yeah, I read that. That's pretty cool.
That was pretty neat.
Good old George W.
Yeah.
The way older one, not the slightly more recent one.
So after Joshua Ward's death in 1825, the house was transformed into a hotel named the Washington Hotel. Props because George Washington stayed in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 19th century, it was used as a tavern. It was also built on the same site as the former home of Sheriff George Corwin, who was associated with the Salem Witch Trials.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really find a whole lot just like regarding the back history of the house.
Mm-hmm.
It was more kind of there during the times of the Salem Witch Trials and where this sheriff where his house was.
Well, there's a lot on him. Like, he
Yeah.
was a very prominent figure during that whole thing.
Yes.
And then, yeah.
Yeah. So during the Salem Witch Trials, for those of you who don't know, I'll kind of go back to George. Just going to go over the history a little bit of what the trials were, if you don't know what they were. So it was a series of prosecutions and hearings of people being accused of witchcraft in the colonial Massachusetts between February 9th, I started typing this up too. 1962. I was like, that's not right.
Wrong century.
Yes.
I've done that before. I've done it in reverse, where I've tried to say that something like started in like 1986, and then my brain just said like 1886 because it was like there was an 8 involved, and I just got confused.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Yep. So it is
not 1962.
1692 through May of 1693.
Okay, perfect. Oh, relatively short amount of time then.
Yeah.
Oh, I was always envisioning that spanning like multiple years.
No, it was very, very short.
Okay.
Yep. The trials were conducted by a court of other, and I think it was by the court of other and terminer.
What?
It was by
a court of other and terminer. Oh.
That may have, I think that was supposed to be a different word, not other.
Oh, was it this? Oyer and terminer?
Yeah! Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Yes. Okay. Oyer and terminer, thank you.
Do you want to know what it is?
Yeah,
I just used the Google. Mm-hmm. In English law, Oyer and terminer was the law French name for one of the commissions by which a judge of... Oh, this doesn't help at all. Which a judge of assize sat.
Oh.
Assize.
Oh.
Assize.
Ass size.
Ass size. A judge of tremendous ass size would sit. So that didn't help me at all. I was all like ready to offer up some useful information. The commission was also known by the Latin name audiendo et terminando, and the Old English derived term sock and sack.
Okay.
Sock and sack. That still means
it was
nothing.
A type of law, something that happened.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
it literally means to hear and to determine.
Oh,
so it's just
so it's
a court.
Just a fancy way to describe court hearings.
But how many fun different ways can you say it?
Yeah,
I mean,
there were a lot of things that I had to try and decipher and dumb down.
Yeah,
I guess.
Translate.
Yes, to make it not so ridiculous.
In layman's terms.
Yes.
I'm
then
so sorry. Continue.
By a superior court judicature in 1693.
Okay.
So
you got the short end of the stick on all the legal terminology.
So it was coined as the deadliest witch hunt in the history of colonial America.
Except for today, worst witch hunt of all time.
Everything's
such
a witch hunt.
Everyone's being hunted.
Everyone.
Burned at
Everything's
stake.
just
witches.
such lies.
Fake
witch
news.
hunt. Fake news. Yep. Everything's fake.
This is probably a bigger witch hunt than the actual witch hunt during Salem. Yep.
And he'd probably say that too.
Probably. I doubt he even knows what the Salem Witch Trials were. Or he'd use them completely in the wrong context.
Yes.
And not. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway.
We're not going to go down that road.
We kind of already did, but let's we'll throw it into reverse, back up a little bit,
Here we
and
go.
Get back to the story.
We're not going to get political tonight.
Nope.
It was also one of the most notorious cases of mass hysteria during that time, which kind of corresponds with all of the, asylums and things.
Oh, yep.
That started to come about.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of those were built around the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, mass hysteria, and it has also been used as a cautionary tale about the dangers of isolationism, religious extremism, false accusations, and lapses in due process, which this whole trial is literally about all of that.
All of those things. Gee, those also sound very relevant to today's...
Right.
We just said we weren't going to get political, but gee, lapse in process and false accusations.
Weird.
And gee, none of that stuff sounds familiar.
So
Crazy.
What a concept, government.
Yeah.
So the first ones that were accused during the witch trials, it was Betty Paris, who was 9 years old, and Abigail Williams, who was 11.
What?
I'm really not fully sure how, they decided to start accusing people of being witches.
Like where the first one came from.
Yeah.
Well, especially a 9-year-old.
Right.
What the hell?
Yeah, they're a child. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I don't know how they decided that people were witches.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, this is
Gotta
back
start
in the
somewhere.
1600s, so they're all freaking odd.
Did you see the movie The Witch?
No.
Oh, it's so good. You haven't seen it?
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay. So it's a really good horror movie. I wouldn't say it's like particularly scary. There's some moments where it's scary, but it's not like it's very different in style and tone than like say the Conjuring movies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about a family in like puritanical New England who I can't remember why, but this guy decides to take his family and like leave their little like colonial town, and they go to basically try to like live on their own,
Mm-hmm.
and they build this little like hut right by the edge of the woods or whatever, and that exact same thing happens. Like bad things start happening to them, and then within the family, they're accusing each other of witchcraft, and like, no, she's a witch, no, I saw, and it's like children.
Oh my gosh.
Little children like accusing each other of being a witch, and every time misfortune follows, like the whole movie, you're never really sure if it's just like how much of this is psychological because they've been in complete isolation for forever, and they're like struggling and they're basically starving to death.
Mm-hmm.
And two, like, is there actually a witch involved, or like it's very good.
Interesting.
We should watch it sometime.
We'll have to watch it.
It's quite good.
We have to watch one tonight.
Yep, let's do it.
So Betty Paris, 9 years old, and Abigail Williams, who was 11, they were accused because they began having fits, in quotes, beyond the power of epileptic fits or natural disease to affect.
I was going to say it sounds like epilepsy, but I guess it's not.
Not epilepsy.
Beyond epileptic.
It is blonde epileptic.
Blonde epilepsy. Way worse than the brunette kind of epilepsy.
This was described by John Hale, who was a local reverend.
Mm.
A lot of these, like, first claims came out from reverends or priests in the town.
Isn't that... Well, so that would make sense, one, because they're the religious figure and the religious authority.
So, I suppose.
Wasn't there, there was a play about, like, the witch trials, and wasn't the main character... Was that a... Oh, it's driving me crazy. What's the name of that play? It's not
I don't know.
It's not like the crucifixion. Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. There's a play about this, and that name sounds so familiar, and now I'm wondering if that play is actually based on that guy, because that name just sounds so familiar to me.
Could be.
The Crucible? The Crucible.
Oh, maybe. Synopsis.
Oh, no. Okay. Not the same character, but yes, the Crucible is based on kind of this whole thing. Okay.
Oh, okay, cool.
I promise I'll stop interrupting you.
Stop interrupting me and just let me talk.
One of these days I'll let you get through your whole thing.
It also said that the girls would throw things, uttered strange sounds, crawled under furniture, and contorted themselves into strange positions.
Oh.
So.
Well, I mean, I sort of get just like crawling under furniture.
That's kind of weird.
Well,
I mean,
they're little.
I suppose you're a child.
I guess they're not like 4. They're like 9 and 11. I guess that'd be kind of weird,
I mean,
but
they have imaginations. They're gonna throw things. They're gonna have temper tantrums.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mom, you can probably attest to this. I probably threw shit in my room all the time.
Yeah, tell us about it. But I guess
stories.
But I guess all of those things like together, maybe not like individual, like isolated things would maybe not be a big deal, but doing all of those might be a little bit of red flag.
Yeah, probably.
A red flag?
Red flag.
Red flag.
We're really good at talking tonight.
We haven't even had any alcohol. I don't understand.
Maybe that's why.
I just am bad at life, I guess. I don't know.
So then William Griggs, a doctor, found no physical ailments with the girls. So then after those two were accused and arrested, more women started showing similar symptoms to the 2 little girls. So some reasons as to why people thought that like the Salem Witch Trials started and why people were starting to act different was because of family feuds, racial differences, religious beliefs, or those who just seemed like outcast from everyone else. So essentially just trying to figure out a way to get those people out of society because maybe they just didn't want them around. So we're going to point out all of your weird things that you do and then we're just going to kill you off.
It became very convenient to take care of anything that was, to like take care of anything that you didn't want to deal with anymore. Well, you're a witch. It's the same thing with like the insane asylums. Oh, you want to run off and marry your Catholic girlfriend, but you're a Jew? Fine, we're going to drop you off at the insane asylum so we don't have to deal with you because, or like you're an inconvenient family member because you have a physical ailment. Well, you're insane. We'll drop you off and then we don't have to deal with you anymore.
Exactly.
Same concept.
Yep, exactly. So essentially you could, like you said, accuse literally anybody of witchcraft because you didn't like the way they looked or It also said if someone experienced loss, illness, or death, it had to have been caused by witchcraft, and they were brought into trial.
Why did it have to have been witchcraft?
I don't
People just aren't allowed to just die naturally anymore?
No.
Like,
if someone dies in your arms, you're a witch.
It must be witchcraft.
Because you're dealing with the devil, and it's witchcraft.
It's required that the cause is witchcraft.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
So then, like I said, lots and lots of people were accused, and anybody could accuse one person of this or another. This one, I want you to help me decipher a little bit, because I was just struggling.
Okay.
So, when they went to trial, the person who was accused was able to try and explain their side of the story, and the accuser explained why they thought that they were a witch.
Yep.
So one area for like the evidence is that much of the evidence that was used against the accused was spectral evidence.
Spectral?
Spectral?
Mm-hmm.
Spectral.
Like a specter. Is that what that means?
Maybe.
Like supernatural?
I think so, because that's kind of what it shows down here.
Oh, okay.
So the testimony of the afflicted who claimed to see the apparition or shape of a person. So, okay, how do I want to explain this? So people would essentially say that they saw the person.
Like an apparition of the person who they accused of being a witch, like that witch was like creating a kind of like ghostly version of themselves to come and like torment them or something.
I think so.
Okay.
I think because I was struggling with it. So they would claim to see the apparition or shape of the person who was allegedly afflicting them.
I could see that. If you have, like, your crops aren't growing and your plants are diseased, or someone falls sick in your family, or you are, like, being awakened by weird sounds at night, like, they're claiming, essentially, then that they're seeing a shadowy version of the person, like, cursing them.
Okay.
While it's I'm kind of picturing, like, a voodoo doll. Okay. Like, if you use a voodoo doll and then something bad happens, like, instead of a voodoo doll, it's just like a spectral shape of like that person.
Gotcha.
That's probably not a great analogy, but
no, but that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So it was said that they kind of tied it back to the devil because it's during very religious times. So it was said that the devil could use any shape to afflict a person. But the court decided that the devil couldn't just use anyone without their permission.
Okay, the courts are literally sitting down, having a discussion about, like, legal crimes and deciding what the devil is and isn't capable of?
Yes.
On whose authority?
Theirs.
Okay. All right.
So...
I'll just pretend like that makes sense. Okay.
So, therefore, when the afflicted claimed to see apparitions of a specific person, that was evidence that the accused was dabbling with the devil and therefore is a witch and is dabbling in witchcraft.
Evidence.
Yes.
What?
Such evidence.
Such evidence.
Yes.
You're just going and saying, well, I saw a ghost of this person. Okay,
so that's the devil.
That's not evidence. That's you just saying shit in court. Like, you can't, there's no proof that any of that happened.
Nope.
Everyone is just making shit up. Like, I guarantee you,
that's
these
how
people...
all of these,
the
claims were, is that all of the stories, everything was just complete bullshit.
That's so crazy. I just heard a really interesting episode of a true crime, My Favorite Murder?
Yeah.
True crime podcast that I really like. And they just did one of the stories they talked about was like all these like wrongful conviction cases where people essentially, they're not like making things up, but they kind of are. They're basically, the cops wanted to have the convenient solution, and they had already like done this kind of wrongful conviction. So when more and more evidence started popping up to like say like, hey, actually, I think you have the wrong people, they just like swept it under the rug and completely ignored it and came up with like stupid fabricated reasons as to why their conviction made sense. It's like, no, you guys, you can't just make shit up. You're fucking with people's lives, and it's important and it matters, and like it maybe it's more convenient for you, but those people have to, or in this case, get like burned at the stake or whatever. But like today, you just go to jail. Yep. And then you just sit and rot. That's so infuriating. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So then, going back to George Corwin, so he was the sheriff during the Salem Witch Trials. So he was the one who was escorting the condemned by cart from prison to the execution site. at the Proctor's Ledge on Gallows Hill.
Mm.
So he was bringing all them witches.
Delivering them to the executioner.
Yep.
Oh, fun.
And he would also confiscate the property of the condemned prisoners as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were also numerous myths about Corwin, including the idea that he tortured prisoners in his basement, but there was no evidence to substantiate the claim or that it actually took place in the home.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Not just that it happened in his basement, but like there's no evidence that any of it happened?
No.
Oh, I read so many different articles like citing a specific number that he legally tortured 19 people.
Oh, really?
And it was legal because it was all part of the witch trial stuff, and he would torture them to get them to confess to witchcraft.
Oh, shit.
And I read that it was like 19 that they were aware of. It was 19 cases of legal torture.
Oh.
But if there's no evidence, then...
I don't know. This was just off one of my sites. So I got Wikipedia, SalemWitchMuseum.com, and History by the Sea.
Mm. I mean, it certainly makes for a more interesting story if he, like, legally tortured and killed 19 witches, but...
Yeah. So then at the end of the Salem Witch Trials, more than 200 people were accused. 30 were found guilty, 19 of whom were executed by hanging. And then there was Gilles Corey. He was pressed to death because he refused to plead guilty to charges of witchcraft.
Uh-huh.
And then at least 5 people died in jail.
Mm-hmm.
But then years after the trial, there were various petitions throughout many, many, many years filed to the government to try and reverse the convictions of the wrongfully accused, and most of the time it was just swept under the rug. They didn't care, like, what's done is done.
Same freaking thing happens today.
Like,
it's just
who cares? But then in 2001, the Massachusetts legislature, I hate that word.
It's hard.
Passed an act exonerating all of those who had been convicted and naming those who were innocent.
Oh, when did they do that?
2001.
Oh, wow. So, like, even a couple hundred years after the fact, they posthumously, like, said, we've fucked up.
Yeah. It was at the 300th anniversary.
Wow.
Is when they did it.
That's really significant to, like, just do it purely symbolic, like, obviously no actual change to anything or, like, any outcome, but to go back and say that, like, this is exactly what not to do in a situation like this, and we're, even though it was 300 years ago, we're still gonna, like, formally apologize for it. Like, that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
That's really cool.
So then, with the house, after it was built, Joshua Ward was gone, and everything. So in the 70s, the house went under extensive restoration and preservation. In 1978, the house was listed on the National Register of Historical Places. 1994, it was purchased. I wrote boom dealer, but it's a book dealer.
Oh, I was like, what the hell's a boom dealer? Fireworks?
Yes.
They sell bang bang sticks? Oh, okay.
Was a book dealer who used the house as their headquarters, and then in 2015 it was transformed back into a hotel.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
so that's a little bit of the history of Massachusetts, Salem Witch Trials, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Which I still really want to, like, I've always wanted to go to Salem.
Yeah,
because
me
of
too.
that. And to see all the different places, and also because it's where Hocus Pocus was. So
oh, really? Is that where they filmed it?
Yeah, because it was 300 years after the witch trials. The sisters were hung because they were claimed to be witches, and it's 300 years then after.
Oh, I didn't know that that's what that movie was about. I know. Again,
it's okay. I will forgive you for this.
You've never made me watch it. This is partially on you.
It's only ever been out every single Halloween.
Yeah, well, we don't watch TV on TV. So. If it's not on, I'm sure it's on many streaming platforms. I was about to say, if it's not on a streaming platform, I won't watch it, but it probably is.
Yeah, so. It's on Disney+.
Okay, well, we'll watch it together.
Yep.
We'll do it. It'll be a date night for us.
Yep.
Cool.
Good.
Great.
Okay.
We'll watch it.
Here we go.
Yeah, no, I really want to go to Salem too because, and I really want to go. They have, I want to say it's over Halloween, but they have this massive, just like Halloween festival where everyone literally like dresses up like witches, and they have like stuff and events all over town, like basically celebrating the town's history.
So we're gonna do that next year.
Yeah, it's really freaking cool.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. So, obviously with kind of the house being the home of George Corwin, who may or may not have apparently legally tortured and killed 19 witches and warlocks.
Yeah.
TBD on whether or not that's factual or just legend. But there has been a ton of like different paranormal things that have been seen in the house.
Yay,
so
that's exciting.
It is exciting. So I got most of my information from spellboundtours.com, an article in the Claremont Sun written by Mark Hoover, weekendweird.com, and then unexplainedmysteries.com.
Ooh, so many options. Not Wikipedia.
So many. No, Wikipedia had nothing on the hauntings. It was all just like, well, this is the house, and it was the home of Joshua Ward and George Corwin. Oh, that was it. Nothing about paranormal. Well, cool. So here's the thing. So it's been hard to get, like, so I feel like when places are featured in Wikipedia with like paranormal information, it's because like Ghost Hunters has been there, or one of the TV shows has gone there and done like an investigation. They haven't really done investigations of this place really because now it's owned by like private businesses. Okay. Right? So like at a hotel, like they're not going to want to have people coming and like scaring away guests. Exactly. And they're like, no, stay away. This isn't happening. It's been hard to get anything like really firm. There is one thing though, which I will show you. So visitors of the home claim that they have felt ghostly hands choking them. Oh, that's fun. Yep, like physically being choked. Trash cans have been knocked over inexplicably. People have felt cold spots, seen doors open and close by themselves. They've witnessed books be thrown from shelves, and they find blobs of like warm, melty candle wax around the house. Oh yeah. When no candles have been lit. That's so weird. It's super weird. So sending like little letters, little stampers. Oh yeah, the little thing. Yeah. A seal. Yeah. I was like, what the hell's that called? Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I think the idea is that the ghosts of the people back at the time, they would have been using candlelight to, like, go around. So they're, like, basically walking around with, like, paranormal candles. Yeah. Spectral candle. Ghostly candles? Ghostly candles. You pick your poison there. Perfect. But then they find these little blobs of, like, melted wax around the house. And then people have also found candles bent into the shape of the letter S. And that's weird. It's very specific, and it showed up in, like, multiple articles. So that's I don't really know what the story is on that one, because like from all the notable people, there's like no one with a name that started with the letter S. No, not that I read. Well, S for Salem. Yeah, maybe. That's the only correlation I could see. Yeah. People also report the manifestation of burning scratch marks on their arms and backs. Oh, yeah. What? Super intense. No. Very intense. Oh, that sounds awful. I know. Ouch. This one was interesting. So security alarms have been triggered frequently when nothing tangible could be seen or heard on any of the actual cameras. They just get triggered, and that could totally be malfunctioning equipment. But they said that one alarm in particular was triggered over 60 times in 2 years. Holy shit. Which is a lot. It's like almost once a week. Yeah, I don't think that's a malfunction. Yeah. If it's at that point, you should probably change it. Yeah, like replace it, maybe. You know, because it's kind of super annoying. It just be annoying to deal with. Oh, gosh. One room in the house seems to be particularly haunted, where an employee would regularly lock her office door at night, only to come back the next morning and find books and papers strewn about the floor. And her wastebasket would be upside down, and lampshades would be kind of like lopsided and everything. What is their deal with these trash cans? I don't know. They really love garbage. I guess so. They like that fruity garbage? They love that fruity garbage. Perfect. They just want to spread the love. The whole every square inch of this building should get to experience fruity garbage. Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's so weird. Yeah, it's bizarre. Jeez. So George Corwin, obviously being the guy who was at the center of a lot of the executions and the trial stuff. So the biggest and most obvious claim of paranormal activity in the house is that the violent and angry ghost of George Corwin still haunts the house, and he likes to attack people, particularly by choking them. Huh. So, I wonder if that's how he tortured the prisoners. Well, actually, that's like the legend or myth, or whether or not it's fact, I'm not really sure. Yeah. But basically, they said that like he would frequently, and they said he enjoyed basically choking his victims until... What a creep. Yeah, until they were convinced to confess to whatever fake crime they were accused of. Well, obviously they're going to confess because they don't want to keep getting choked out. Yeah, when you basically force people to confess, it's either confess or like die. That's not a real confession. No, that doesn't. No, that's not how it works. No. For a reason. Oh, that's not how you do it. Yeah. Jesus. So people frequently report seeing an older male entity sitting in a rocking chair by the fireplace, and they believe that to be the spirit of Corwin. So there were 2 paranormal investigators that I found. They were just called Mary and Robert for anonymity, so I don't actually know what their names were.
Mary and Robert.
So Mary and Robert.
Perfect.
So I don't know if this was maybe before it was turned into a hotel or like bought by like private business owners or what, but somehow these investigators got in and they were going around the house setting up equipment and taking audio recordings in a bunch of different rooms. So Mary was upstairs in a 3rd floor room while Robert was in the basement, and Mary suddenly realized that it had been a while since she'd heard from him, and she was like, wait, I think we were supposed to meet on the main floor like a half hour ago, and she kind of looked down and was like, oh, what time is it? This is weird. So she called out for him, and he didn't answer, so she went down looking for him and went down to the basement, and she found him writhing on the floor, struggling to breathe, looking like he had been choked.
Oh my gosh!
Or was being choked. So
Holy shit!
She finds him, like, struggling on the floor. She sits him up, and when he finally catches his breath, he said that he was just walking around in the basement, you know, checking out stuff and setting up equipment, and he was struck from behind. Something grabbed him by the throat, and when he turned around to see who was attacking him, there was obviously nothing there. And when he tried to scream, he literally could not make a sound because his windpipe was being crushed.
Holy shit!
Yeah. He says
that's terrifying.
It's horrifying, and he says he like almost passed out from lack of oxygen, and that's when Mary came downstairs and found him. And he had massive bruising on his neck, consistent with what you see in like choke victims.
What?
Yeah. So that's really creepy.
Holy shit!
Because he legit had like physical evidence that he had been like attacked on his neck.
And they were the only 2 in the house.
Yes.
Fuck.
Yes. So,
damn you, Corwin.
Yeah, and apparently, and I read this a bunch of different places too, that Corwin's nickname had at one point been the Strangler. Because he enjoyed choking his victims until they confessed.
What kind of sick person enjoys strangling another?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I can only liken it to, if you think, and this is a very extreme example, but like Nazi Germany, right? You kind of, everyone gets in the same mentality that these people are nothing.
I suppose.
If I'm just picturing the whole town of Salem just getting swept up in it, and it's like you said, it's mass hysteria. Everyone thinks everyone's a witch, and suddenly doing these horrible, heinous things to a human being doesn't really, like, it's not as big of a deal because, well, they're all witches and they all need to be punished, and everyone's kind of like, yep, kill the witches. And but it's still really. It's one thing to physically hold your hand around another human's neck and like crush it.
And to watch them struggle, like, oh god.
Yeah, it's not good. Shit. So Molly Stewart, founder of Spellbound, which I think is a paranormal investigation group. So that was that spellboundtours.com website that I mentioned. So she also had an encounter in the house when trying to capture video footage of paranormal stuff, and she was also capturing EVPs. And at the end of her and apparently she was one of the like leading authorities on EVPs. She was one of the first people to kind of like champion that particular technique for getting evidence, I guess.
Oh, really?
According to their own website, so I don't really know. That could be exaggerated.
But how much I believe on that.
Yeah, I don't know. But she was fond of the technique at the very least. So at the end of her session, when she was listening back to the recordings, she heard a very rough voice growling very clearly and distinctly, "I just want to keep you."
Oh,
no, thank you.
You cannot keep me.
You cannot.
So, oh, fuck that.
Yeah, no, it's
probably the devil.
Probably
attached to her.
Or it's freaking George Corwin being like, "I want you to be one of my victims," which is what she was convinced that the message was, because she went back and checked all the video footage that she had been taking, and so like conveniently she was doing the video and the audio at the same time, so she could go back and look at the room where the EVP was captured, and there's nobody there, and it wasn't. She said it was super clear. It wasn't like a lot of the EVPs where it's just some little muddled, fuzzy background sound that maybe sounds like a word. She said it was super clear. "I just want to keep you," which is so gross.
No.
So yeah, she was like, "I'm pretty sure that was George Corwin telling me that he wanted to choke me."
Good.
So
got them ghosts coming at you.
Them ghosts. So there's another famous ghost that has been seen on the property. She's known as the Lady in Black, as opposed to the Lady in White from
which is always
the other place.
Lady in White.
Yeah. So have you seen the Lady in Black?
No.
The movie with Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe?
No, I want to though.
It's pretty good. It's actually pretty creepy. I remember being very freaked out by it when I first saw it.
Maybe I have watched it.
We might have it. Actually.
Maybe.
The second one is not as good.
I don't know.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
So that's what I thought of immediately when I was reading about this. But So she's another famous ghost that reportedly occupies the house, and she has been seen as having a distorted face, long, messy black hair, like super just frizzy and crazy, and she wears an old tattered black dress. So people suspect that she was one of the witches that may have been killed by George Corwin during She's a witch! So, former Salem Sheriff Robert Cahill, who is now deceased, was doing an interview with some people, I forget who exactly, but he said back in the 1980s, the home was being used as the office for Carlson Realty. And so, so I read this story, and there's like 6 different versions. Literally, like every single story I read features a different location, a different like context, different person involved, but it all comes to kind of the same conclusion of one of the most like chilling and most convincing pieces of evidence of paranormal encounters like in the whole community.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's I'll show you. It's very creepy. The story that I ended up writing down, but there's a bunch of different versions, was that a photographer was taking employee pictures at a Christmas party with a Polaroid camera. And other people were saying that it was a realtor who was taking pictures of the house because it was going to be a new listing. Some articles said that they were taking pictures of the employees as like a welcome to Carson Realty, like billboard or whatever. So I have no idea what the actual story was.
Perfect.
But taking pictures of everybody, right, with a Polaroid camera where you like shake it and you see it right away. So there was... when they were looking at all the photos and kind of looking at everybody, and when they got to one that was supposed to be of a young woman who was either named Julie Tremblay or Lorraine St. Peter.
Oh, those are complete opposites.
Depending on the article, again, like, can we get some consistency here? So her photo turned out to be not her.
What?
She was nowhere to be found. It was a woman wearing an old black dress with crazy-looking black hair and a creepy, distorted face.
What?
And no one can explain this photograph. Like, skeptics have tried. There's, like, no evidence that it's been tampered or,
Holy
edited.
Shit.
None of the other office workers who saw the photo could explain the image because they're like, no one that looked like that was around. And her picture is missing. Like, there is no photo of her. It's just this photo of this crazy
And especially
woman.
with a Polaroid, like, you can't change that.
Yeah.
It comes right out of the camera
right
and it's
out.
there.
And most critics, there's varying theories as to what happened, but there's no, like, clear explanation that has been landed on. So I'm going to show you this picture.
She was probably possessed by this lady. What? That's like in a... what movie is it where that happens? I keep coming back to...
Insidious.
Yes,
he becomes the creepy old lady. Yes. Yeah.
That's
oh my
what
God.
I automatically thought of.
Are you ready to see this
I don't
picture?
know. I'm going to get chills. I'm already nervous.
You're going to, like, cry.
No! Oh my God! That's the creepiest thing ever!
It's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Anna's like losing her shit right now.
No.
Yeah, so we'll post that on the Facebook.
Oh, that's gross.
It's super gross. And the picture of the woman that it's supposed... Let me see if I can find it. This is what she was supposed to look like. So
I mean, the only thing would be if they were, like, super shaky trying to take the picture.
Yeah. But,
And
like,
she had, like, a giant afro.
Right, but, like, no one recognized the picture. They all looked at it and went, like, what the hell? Like, it was... Yeah. It's disturbing.
No!
You guys will just have to wait to see it. It's pretty incredible.
Shit.
Or you can Google it yourselves. It's not that hard to find. But,
Oh,
yes.
I don't like that. Gross.
So that's been one of the ones where... Of all the, like, evidence of the paranormal that's been kind of out there in the, like, paranormal investigative community, that's one of the, like, least skeptical ones, or, like, ones that's been the least challenged because there really is no explanation for it.
No, you can't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If it was a digital camera, then yeah, you could Photoshop the shit out of it.
Right.
But being Polaroid,
yeah,
no.
it was back in the 1980s,
Yep,
so.
not happening.
So, other employees have also they've had encounters with the lady in black, and this one, I'm, like, kind of skeptical as to whether or not this is real, but I suppose I have no place to sit here and judge these stories, but basically former employees of the house have reported that oftentimes when they'd be sitting in their offices after hours, they'd be, like, working late, they would be alone and no one else would be in the building. They would look up from their computer because they would be, like, seeing out of the corner of their eye a glimpse of a shadowy figure walking down the hallway. So they're like, what the heck is that? And then when they look back to their computer screen, they've seen the lady in black's face on the computer. Looking back at them.
Oh, that's like my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Is for that to happen in a mirror.
Yeah, horrifying. Like, when you turn to look behind you and then you look back and you're like, there's gonna be
there.
It's such a, like, horror movie cliche.
It really is.
You've seen Sinister, right?
Yes.
With the creepy Bagul,
I think so.
freaky dude, and it has all the like clips of the Super 8 film, like the
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
there's a point when he's like editing and he like basically records
I
all
think
of it.
I remember that
Yes,
part.
he like records all these little like film strips and he's editing them on his computer and he like looks away. So he looks away and then when he looks back, and then while he's looking away, the face on the computer screen like moves and turns to look at the camera. And you're like, oh, it's so crazy.
My worst nightmare.
So I can only imagine it was something similar in this case. So
probably.
Again, it seems a little bit of a stretch to me, but I guess if the photograph one is true, then I guess I
feel like it would happen.
I suppose it could.
Yeah.
All right. So then the last kind of key paranormal figure in this story is that of was it Giles Corey? The guy who got crushed to death?
Sure.
Yeah,
Giles, I don't know.
So he's the third kind of main ghostly figure that people report seeing in the house. And so he's the man that Corwin crushed to death with heavy rocks after days of torture. Mm-hmm. So this torture method is called pressing.
Yep.
And basically what they did is he brought him out to like a field and they laid Corwin laid wooden planks over his body and just kept slowly adding on weight and just like adding more, and he wouldn't talk, and this guy refused to talk for days and he just kept adding more weight. Like, can you imagine just feeling yourself like slowly getting crushed to death? Like, can you imagine like your bones just starting to like splinter and just crack? Like,
just let it be done.
That might be like the worst way to die.
I always think of at the end of The Strangers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
And then they just
knife to the gut.
Stab them. Just slowly in.
Oh, I know.
Like that's like one of my worst fears.
That part of that movie is so upsetting to me.
It is.
It gets to me. I've seen that movie like 15 times and it gets to me every time.
I hate it.
They're just
so
sitting there
much.
tied up and helpless and it's just like slow knife to the gut and then again and again and they're just sitting there screaming, and they're all just doing it completely unfeeling, like no signs of distress, just slow stabby stab. It's very
so
creepy.
Much.
But yeah, to be slowly piling rocks on someone until they get like smushed to death is so disturbingly like evil. It's just so creepy. So this is of course all legend. I don't think there's actually a record of exactly what went down conversation wise, but legend says that towards the end of the torture, Giles Corey got pissed and was basically like telling Corwin like, fuck you, add more weight, and like screams at him to add more weight. So he did and put a giant rock on the pile, and that Corey's last words as he died were, "Damn you, Sheriff Corwin, I curse you and all of Salem." So he cursed the town.
You go, Giles.
4 years later, Corwin died suddenly and mysteriously of a heart attack at age 30.
Oh, shit.
With no other previous health conditions, which... Of course, could completely be coincidence.
Right.
But everyone was like, oh...
Giles came back for him!
He was a warlock, he cursed him, and he's a... And then people also said that his curse apparently affected many sheriffs for several years after Corwin died as well. So
really?
That position was, like, cursed or haunted, I guess.
Did they all die? Or?
I don't know. It didn't say exactly why they thought that or what the details were.
Uh-huh.
So after Corwin died, his family decided that they didn't want to give him a public grave because they were afraid that his corpse would be dug up and desecrated from all the angry families of all the witches who died during the trial. So it's a pretty fair concern. So they buried him in the basement of the Joshua Ward house.
What?
Where his body stayed for many years until eventually they did move it to a real cemetery.
Oh, shit.
But so I could totally see how
probably why
his ghost would haunt the place because they buried a murderer in the basement after he was potentially killed by a warlock. So
shit.
It's messed up.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, people see, basically they've reported that he's responsible for, the ghost of Giles Corey was responsible for tearing through the house. He would leave rooms in disarray, pull books off of shelves, turning over furniture. They think he was the one emptying the garbage cans, I guess. I don't know why specifically him, but
he was just angry.
He's just so pissed.
So mad.
I would be too.
He got smushed to death.
Horrible way to die.
It really is.
Terrible.
It'd be awful.
So yeah, those are the main three.
That's fun.
It's super crazy.
I want to just go to Salem so bad.
I know. It'd be so fun.
Such a cool place.
It really is. And just the history.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Could dress up as witches.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
And I love Halloween too, and just all things like scary horror. Obviously, that's why we're doing this podcast. No, duh. But I think it'd be cool to go during their giant like witch festival days or whatever. Because I think it's like for an entire week they do this big thing. So
we'll have to look it up.
It'd be a cool vacation.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Well, friends. Guys, send us your stories.
Send them in to nightmarenation19@gmail.com.
We want to hear them.
Check out our Facebook page. We'll post that horrifying image of the lady in black. Make sure to follow us on Instagram.
Nightmare.nation19. I always say it.
And then Facebook is nightmare_nation19.
You got it.
I got it right. Cool.
Message us. Like us.
Leave us a rating or review.
Yeah.
If you want to support the show, there's a link next to each episode in our website. So if you want to fund our little side project here, we appreciate that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
we'll
definitely.
Get some bloops out your way.
We'll post bloopers of basically our entire episode every week is a giant blooper.
Pretty much.
But there's especially fun nuggets of blooper material.
Before we actually start podcasting, we get some of our craziness out.
Believe it or
so
not.
that we calm down just a little bit during the episodes, otherwise we'd be a little unruly.
So we'll probably start posting some of that to our patrons.
Yeah.
So if you want to become one, check it out.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Super cool.
All right, friends.
All right, until next time. Don't use Ouija boards.
Don't use the Ouija board.
Don't get possessed by the devil.
Don't get haunted. And don't be a witch.
Don't be a witch.
Or actually do be a witch and then tell us all about it. All right, friends. Until next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.